It's Midwest Ghost Hunters at Pythian Castle in Springfield, Missouri. Another round of our podcast. Little podcast we do here every weekend. Started out pretty little in the beginning. What was it, 300 podcasts ago, whenever we did the radio station podcast for them.
Long time ago. And now we somehow became one of the most listened to paranormal podcasts.
In the world.
Not too
we
fucking,
are. That's a true story.
Not too fucking bad. But anyway, Dustin is not here again this week. He'll be hopefully back.
He's on assignment.
Yeah.
Giving birth.
He was crowning last week, so we should be getting close. Well, last week we talked about Kristen's house and played some of the evidence that we've got from there. We've got that on the website now, mwghosthunters.com. Just click on investigations. You'll see the button for Kristen's house.
What was your favorite audio that we had from that?
Probably, I don't know.
Mine was the yes in the
is
bathroom.
what I'm thinking. Probably.
I really enjoyed the reactions to the cup.
Yeah,
I liked it when...
That was loud as fuck.
I liked it when Chris said, that wasn't me, I didn't do that.
Well, someone had tried to say that I did it, and I wasn't anywhere near the motherfucker.
I might have done that as a joke. I don't remember.
I don't know. There was no cat nearby. I know cats are pretty notorious for knocking shit off, but there was no cat. Those cats were scared of us. They were always hiding under desks and shit. But last week, I hadn't even talked to you guys about this. We have our website set up with a little text bubble where you can, write whatever you want to say on that, and it comes to our email. And this girl had written to us. I don't know. I'm not even going to say her name, but she's in Branson, and she had written to us asking. Oh no, I'm sorry. Let me back that up. She actually called. My phone rang. And when my phone rings, I look at it like I've never heard, such a sound come out of this device before, because my people typically don't call me. So I let them ring. I screen everything. If your name doesn't pop up on there, I let that shit go. And she left a voicemail. And she was crying in it. And then right after I listened to the voicemail, that phone number called back, and I answered at that time. And she had moved from, I don't remember, Texas, I think, to Branson. Anyway, she called back and she was crying. She had moved to Branson from Texas to try to get away from... Huh?
I'd be crying if I moved from Texas to Branson, too.
Well, she was trying to get away from the aggressive paranormal activity that had ostracized her entire family from her.
Okay.
And I did talk to her on the phone. It was on my way home from work for whatever that amount of time is, 10, 12 minutes. And she was very upset. She seemed very normal on the phone. She was legitimately upset because she did not know what to do, because she's afraid to go home every night, but can't afford to not.
So is something following her?
I don't know. That's what she says. She says there's something following her. She sent some videos and some audio recordings where you can hear something. We weren't there, and I'm not trying to question her credibility, but I'm just stating a fact that we weren't there when those were recorded, so I can't say what they are or aren't.
Right. We can't talk about the quality of the evidence. We don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it could even be a situation, too, where if you live in a duplex, I'm not saying that she's making it up, but if there is a television going in the other duplex, even though she's got nothing going on in her house or her duplex, that's what it could be. And unless we're there to do that sort of a quality assessment.
What were the claims?
Well, that's what I'm getting ready to get to here is being the introvert that I am. I asked her on the phone. I was like, how about just texting instead of, calling? For now, that's my main means of communication. And she was cool with that. So she did text a little bit. She sent a video. I did not send this to everybody because I know we were focused on Kristen's first. I was going to hang on to it till after that. But before I get to, the claims and stuff she talks about, she does say that everybody in her family, everybody in her life has abandoned her, even her mom. Her mom doesn't ever want her to talk about the stuff that's happening. She was a working paralegal, making decent money at one point. And now everybody thinks she's, and this is her quote, the crazy chick who can't even afford to feed herself.
Oh, man.
So she sent some videos that I'll send along to everybody else. She thought at first she was having, that jumped out of my head, what the fuck's it called? Sleep paralysis. Until she consciously made herself, the next time it happened, tell herself whether she was conscious or not. And she said the next time it happened, she was fully conscious and aware of what was happening around her, and something puts its hands around her throat, which is, I will say, which is very textbook, sleep paralysis type stuff. Not saying that's what this is, but that is one of the, the things that happens when you experience that.
Did she mention going to a doctor?
I did.
The sleep study. I mean,
I even mentioned that specifically.
I don't mean a psychologist.
No, I know. And I mentioned that to her when she was on the phone, and I, for the life of me, cannot remember what her answer to that was. It must have been no.
I would get that done first.
The reason she called us is because she's like, I'm at a point where I don't know who the experts are in this problem. It's not the police.
No.
It's, and I hate to say this out loud, but it's typically not psychotherapy either.
No.
Next thing you know, you're at CVS getting, a shiny new prescription of some shit you don't want to take.
If this ends up being legitimate, and sounds like it is, we should bump that to the top of the list.
We're definitely going to go there.
This person's life is falling apart.
One of the things that I would do, normally I know that we want to investigate with the person not there. I know that that's normally what we do.
In this case, I think it would be
wise
to have them
yes,
present.
I would have her there, but we want to tell her, listen, you've got to be quiet. You cannot jump in and join in on this stuff. You've got to let us do what we do. We just want you here. That way we can kind of study, especially if this is something that, and we've actually had several of these cases, a lot of ours. There's people that believe that houses are haunted, and we've seen that. But what we've also seen is situations where things attach to people.
Yeah, we have seen that. That's more than a theory on our part, because we've actually seen that. Not only have we seen that, but we have captured a voice in one house and then captured that same voice,
exact same voice
in the other house that the people moved to.
So, we've experienced that multiple times.
Yeah. I would actually say that being attached to someone for us, I know this kind of goes against the paranormal grain. I think that's more common for us than just a regular old haunted house.
Yeah, but I mean, because we've dealt with people.
As far as the severe hauntings go, yeah, I would say so. Think of the craziest locations we've been to where the most has happened, excluding Pythian.
Right. So what are the claims that she's had?
She's had scratches all over her back that she's woke up with. She wakes up with feeling like she's being choked. Let me think for a minute. She saw something too. A man. She saw a man in the house. Fuck, I can't. I should have jotted all these down, but I knew we would talk to her again after we did Kristen's investigation, and I just can't fucking remember because this all came about like the week of that we were going to her house. But she was a professional, paralegal, making decent money at one point, and now is kind of afraid to go home and afraid to and can't afford to not.
I think that these sort of situations kind of compound themselves. I think that you have because Chris and I have seen people that start off as, I'm going to say for the most part normal, and then you have paranormal activity, or at least what you believe is paranormal activity in your house. And then if your house is haunted, how much sleep are you going to get?
Oh yeah,
almost none. And then that's going to compound the problem in there. So I think that you could have multiple problems in on top of each other. I mean, especially if you saw something, if you saw shelves open that shouldn't have opened, you're not going to sleep well in that house.
Well, I mean, fuck, you're talking about something, that's got its hands around your neck.
Right.
Well, you're not going to, quietly drift off to sleep every night.
Someone who's experiencing this type of stuff and then has to move houses and go no contact or almost no contact with family because of it. She's probably just wanting to make sure she's not crazy.
Right.
And that would be a big relief for someone else like us to hear or see the same thing and let a person know they're not going crazy.
And that's mainly what she's wanting to...
And that is our main mission. That is our mission statement.
That's all we can do. I mean, that's really all we can do.
If I could get rid of something, I'd do it.
I always make sure, and I did remember asking her on the phone, what is your goal in us coming? Because if she was going to say, I need a blessing or, whatever like that, we were going to have to get somebody else to go out there. And her goal is to make sure, because, when you live alone and have this kind of shit happening, you do start to question your own sanity. And that's what she's wanting for us to do, is not to prove to herself that she's not crazy, but more so, I think, to prove to the other people in her life that she's not. So yeah, we'll have to get in touch with her again. And I told her, I said, we're right in the middle of getting an investigation started here that we're going to have to see to completion. And then we'll be able to start talking about yours a little bit. And I did just now text her that we were doing that. We were talking about hers, but she was very upset. Very,
I would be too.
Very much so.
I could imagine so.
And
But in this situation, when we can finally work a time to get her in, I know that normally we like to get people out of there because there are certain people that want to have ghosts in their house. They just do. They want the ghosts. I think that in this situation, we'd want to have her there.
Yeah, I think so. Probably that would probably be a good idea. Yeah. So I think it's a rare instance where we want the homeowner to be there whenever we're there, but I think this would probably be one where that would probably be warranted. I was just trying to look up here since we were talking about it. Spirit attachments, as they call it in the industry. That's one of those industry buzzwords. Spirit attachments. That's kind of what we were talking about, where something follows you. Where something follows you from one location to the other. And like I said, we've had that many, many times. We've confirmed that can happen.
Yes.
Because the voice that we caught at the house in Willard being the same voice at their house in Springfield, that there's no fucking way.
Right.
There's no way it was the same. And I feel like that's happened before, too.
We've had that happen other times.
I know with the Barbara's house, they had their first paranormal experience in Chicago or Illinois somewhere. May have been Southern Illinois. I don't remember. Somewhere in Illinois.
It was Chicago.
Now, the one we went to in Republic where the makeup thing got thrown, remember that? Because you said that this was... Had you been to that specific house?
Yeah, we had done that one 10 years earlier.
But the specific house? Or was
yes,
it
it was that same house.
Okay.
Yeah, same house. So in that particular instance, that all happened in the same house. But we've had this, the stuff following people, repeatedly. It seems, I can't even think of all the different specific instances, but we have had it.
Barbara's was that way.
Yeah, Barbara's was that way, and so was Willard, too. If you want me to rattle off the list of symptoms of a spirit attachment, I can do that.
You might as well. I'm
Go
curious.
for it.
Now, I cannot
would love to
sit
know.
here and say that this just wasn't some, dude in his basement, shoving down a large pepperoni pizza, just knocking these out off the top of his head. I don't know. I don't know how well. Let me see.
Well, let's see if we agree.
Okay. So these in no particular order. These are the 20 telltale signs that you have a spirit. What do they call it? A spirit attachment, which is defined as an unseen entity that clings to your energy field and negatively impacts your life. That's probably accurate. Here's one. Sudden, unexplained fatigue. You wake up exhausted despite getting enough sleep. I would say that's probably true. I don't know if it's for the reason they say.
I will go with that.
It could be. I mean, they say the reason for that is spirit attachments feed off your energy, leaving you chronically drained. I would think that it's you're scared to death something's going to put its fucking invisible hands around your neck.
Well, it's like what you hear from like soldiers in Vietnam. You're basically sleeping with one eye open.
Sure, yeah.
You don't get what I think they call, is it
PTSD?
REM sleep, that you've got to get so much because there's a different quality of sleep.
If you don't reach the rapid eye movement phase of sleep, you're not really that rested.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'll buy that. I'll take that.
Here's another one. Intense mood swings. If you experience sudden irrational mood shifts going from peaceful to furious, from joyful to depressed without a cause, this could be influenced by external energy.
Okay, I'll go with that.
Yeah,
I can believe that.
Hearing voices or unexplained whispers. Hearing voices, whispers, or your name being called when no one is there is a classic sign of an
that one. I
attachment.
don't believe.
You don't believe what?
That's a joke.
I was gonna say,
that one's obviously
I was gonna say,
true.
our entire last fucking podcast was that exactly.
Yeah.
What part of that? Yeah. Okay. Unusual or intrusive thoughts. Thoughts that feel foreign or out of character, violent, negative, or obsessive thoughts.
Can also come from lack of sleep.
They can.
PTSD.
Yeah, these things all tend to be, they snowball. So I'd say all these so far are accurate.
Yeah.
Feeling a presence around you. Do you feel watched, followed, or like something is near you even when you're alone?
When you start having some things happen, and then over a long period of time, especially, you're going to probably start to feel like you're being watched or there's someone with you.
I think so, yeah, for sure. I mean, hell, I've done that to myself in my own house. In my own house many times.
It's kind of the feeling
when
that you're running up the stairs from your basement.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just comes from like genuine paranoia.
That's just that's just parasympathetic.
And what can paranoia? What can paranoia result from?
Well, and that kind of touches into what John was talking about earlier. When you experience some paranormal activity, then you start getting, some people start getting intense paranoia and seeing Ghosts in everything.
Ghost in Fruit Loops.
Yeah.
Pieces of ham.
Yes.
Well, you will. And,
Yes.
I don't think that necessarily makes a person crazy. I think that's just
I don't
what
either.
happens.
That's not what we're saying at all.
No.
That's the normal reaction. Hell, I think I would probably do the same thing.
Well, and I think that's the normal reaction for most people. I mean, we're kind of the weirdos in this, in that we would think back to the podcast we were doing, and Dustin's like, whoa, what was that? And I said, oh, that's just that demon thing we get here. And I just kept going on down the highway. But most people aren't going to respond like that.
Well, how many times have you watched a horror movie or whatever? And as you turn off the lights, go to bed,
Oh, fuck.
you just know something's going to grab your fucking hand as you turn off the light. Well, hell, we lived this for the first half of our lives. Me and John did, watching, we'd watch 5-6 horror movies, a night.
I always think about that one horror movie, Don't Turn Out the Lights, or whatever it was. And this thing looks terrifying. I mean, this is a fairly new one that every time you turn out the light.
I've seen it. Because the thing's laying in bed.
After you guys went to Willard,
Yeah. Wait, which Willard?
the bad one,
Yeah.
I wasn't even fucking there.
Oh, yeah.
You guys came home that night and started digging through evidence. It was so bad.
Yes.
Usually we don't do that. We'll wait for a couple days.
Well, there wasn't going to be any sleeping happening that night for sure.
All I heard was the evidence that you guys provided and sent to me, and I didn't turn my lights off. I was scared shitless,
Yeah.
and I wasn't even there. I was 3 towns over, 50 miles away.
I remember that night so clearly because we left there and Chris in my drive said, Ty just sent us a message. He wants to go back. And I said, he can go back as many times as he wants.
You motherfuckers, we should have went back.
I'm not going back in that house.
We should have went back.
Well, we didn't. So,
We really should have went back.
Nope. I said,
What's the next one?
okay. Chronic anxiety or depression that doesn't respond to treatment. If you tried therapy, medication, or lifestyle changes and still can't shake anxiety or depression, a spirit attachment could be feeding off and amplifying your negative emotions.
I'll agree with that.
Maybe. I know this much. I don't remember if I was reading or watching something one time. It was a very high number, and I can't sit here and say to the accuracy of that number, but I'll just tell you what I can vaguely remember. It was like 67% of people who have committed suicide have had, quote, significant paranormal activity.
I could believe that. But you know what? A lot of these symptoms that you're listing off here are very, very similar to some of the symptoms that you would get with like hormonal imbalances or something like
Or just depression and anxiety.
ADHD, depression and anxiety. What's the other one I'm thinking of?
Bipolar. This crosses over into a lot of things. Even something as, I hate to oversimplify it and say this, but even something as simple as sleep apnea.
Sleep apnea. You really need to go to a doctor.
Did you hear that? So yeah, it's hard to tell. There's a lot of gray area. I mean, that's the case with pretty much any fucking condition. It crosses over into other things too. But yeah, these could be, response to PTSD, anxiety, depression, or any of those other things we just listed. Let's see what else. There's a whole bunch more here. So let's see, if this thing goes off the rails. So far, it's not been bad. This is actually a decent publication. So these may be pretty good. I'll take back that thing I said about the guy shoving pizza in his mouth in the basement, because this is
fairly legitimate.
Yeah, this is legitimate. Okay, here's another one. Distorted or haunted dreams, recurring nightmares, sleep paralysis, dreams of dark figures, or feeling attacked in your dreams can be signs of an entity trying to weaken you through sleep. Maybe. I don't know if that's the reason.
Could be.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of these I don't fully click with the reason, but the symptom makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, they can't say that. They can't sit here and say with any
They can't
amount of
diagnose it any more than we can.
Unusual physical ailments with no medical explanation, such as unexplained headaches, body pains, digestive issues, or chronic illnesses that doctors can't diagnose properly. Digestive issues. Now we know what Dustin's problem is.
Yeah, he's haunted.
He's got a goddamn spirit on him.
This is dangerous water, really.
Are you talking about what we're doing here?
No,
I'm talking about these.
Not what we're doing, but like
This article.
I don't know how to.
It always is.
Anytime
Anytime we talk about this, because on one hand, it sounds like we're saying, well, you're 100% not crazy. You have a ghost. But crazy is not the right word.
Yeah, but some other people would hear us say that exact phrase and be like, you are contributing to this person's insert behavioral or psychological condition.
And it could be.
And that's why we try to vet the person as well as we can. Because
and the thing that I think happens, though, with this, too, and
I got to clarify that. That didn't come out right. Go ahead.
The reason why that I always kind of hammer on this a little bit is that I think that you can have a person who maybe does have maybe some hormonal imbalances. Maybe there's some things that go on. And then you do have some legitimate paranormal activity, some legit. And then what happens is it snowballs to them believing that everything is paranormal activity. And then as a result of that, they don't sleep, they don't get blah, blah, blah. And so it all just compounds.
You got to be really careful what we say to these types of people.
I know. And that's
especially in a case where there is some legitimate paranormal stuff going on, but they've also got something like bipolar disorder.
Right. And
because a lot of times things like PTSD, bipolar, depression lead to suicide.
Yeah.
Right. And that does not mean that the fact that you've got the paranormal activity is not the get out of jail free card for that you couldn't have other issues.
Yeah, don't rule those out. Like, if you think you've got something wrong, it's probably best to go and maybe try and rule it out first, or like get help for it first.
Yeah, for sure. Because
I am just such a proponent for going to a doctor.
Well, I am too.
Just for no reason. Just go to a doctor.
I also understand people who are hesitant to go say something's scratching me and choking me while I'm asleep. I understand the hesitation, but I did want to back up just a little and clarify what I said, because this is you got to be very careful when you talk about this. 7 out of 10 people that you pass on the sidewalk are on something. When I say on something, I'm talking about for anxiety or depression or whatever.
You think of something like Adderall, they're prescribing it left and right because of a lot of people have.
And look, I've worked with a lot of patients who I can tell when they haven't had their medicine.
And
I can tell.
I think though that there's a shift back away from that going on now. And the reason why is a guy I work with was somebody who would take that from time to time. He said now when he goes to the doctor that the doctor just will not give it. That they're trying to pull back because they don't. It's kind of like what happened years ago in the 1970s when you went to the doctor. The first thing they would do is just give you antibiotics. Period. That's what they threw antibiotics at everything.
I would say they're trimming down on antibiotics a lot more than they are on psychotropics.
Pain medication too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Pain medication, big time.
Hydrocodone used to be handed out like Smarties on Halloween.
Right. But they are scaling back a little on these other drugs too.
Which is a good thing.
Yes, it is. It is.
Not to say that there are people out there who don't need them, because I know for a fact that there are. Like I said, I've had patients who I've had to go to the nurse and say, I can tell this patient has not had their fill in the blank here. They're going to have that before I can do anything with it.
One of the best things, I think Ty is kind of onto something though. I think one of the best things that this person could do, and they're not going to want to do this, but before we get in and go talk to them, get in and see a doctor and just do a complete physical, do a complete blood workup, everything.
Maybe she can't afford it too, because I've been in that spot where I could not afford to go see a doctor.
You wouldn't believe how many people are out there that's like, I can't even, old people even that don't have a fucking general doctor.
I didn't until last year, and I'm a 30-year-old man, otherwise healthy.
I mean, my point is there's a lot of people. You would be shocked how many don't have a doctor and don't even know who to call to get one.
And if this lady's listening, we may be kind of treading in the way that she hopes that we wouldn't, which is basically, psychological condition, X,
and that's
Y,
not
Z.
even what we're saying. We're not diagnosing anybody with anything.
We don't know, but I
can't diagnose anything.
I can say, though, that paranormal activity does not necessarily mean there's not other problems going on. And I can tell you that paranormal activity will definitely cut into your sleep, which is going to cause all kinds of other compounding problems, even if you don't have the other issues.
And there's a lot of people out there that's a lot of paranormal investigators that say people with those conditions are more frequently targeted, quote.
I was just going to bring that up a little bit ago.
By paranormal activity. Maybe for this very reason, so people will just think they're crazy. Yeah, I heard that. Was that behind you?
Right fucking there, behind that door.
See, I'm going to say this right now, and I don't know if anybody noticed a minute ago, I'm just now realizing there's no Tamara or dogs here, right?
No.
Are there no dogs?
No, there's nothing here.
Because I just a minute ago saw the shadow under that door right there moving, and in my mind I thought, I bet that's a dog. But now that I think about it, they're not even fucking here. So
there's something walking around out there.
Have you done any research into scholarly articles about paranormal experiences with compounded by psychological
Oh yeah, I've
disorders?
read a bunch about them. It's hard to tell though where one ends and the other begins. That's why a lot of is something moving over there still?
Yeah.
I wonder if there's something outside the window. or a car.
It's cold as fuck right here.
Okay, so
Cold as fuck.
is it because we're closed up, or is it something different? Is it just in one spot? So there's. I've seen a shadow moving under that fucking door for the past 5 minutes, but then I thought it was the dogs, but they're not even here. I'll keep going here while you guys do that. So we have the doors closed. They're like sliding doors into the room we're in this week. And I saw the shadow for sure. No, there's no doubt.
I think
Did you
I
see
saw it earlier too.
But then I thought, that's part of that fucking dog out there. But they're not here. They're gone. That didn't hit me until later. So Tyler and John are going to go out there and kind of see. We want to make sure there's not a human in here. I'm more scared of fucking people than I am dead ones.
Yeah, that's
living people scare the fuck out of me.
that was why I called you when I got to that house.
Yeah,
A couple weeks ago, I was like, I don't want to get
Yeah.
shot by some stand your ground law when I'm on a property I'm not supposed to be.
Anyway, they went to kind of check that out and see if there's anything out there. We're mainly checking for the living. The living will send me packing a lot quicker than the dead.
Yeah, for sure.
But this is a room that we haven't podcasted in a while. We did last week, but up to that point, we only use this room whenever Tamara, the castle owner, is gone, because when she's gone, she likes to keep that room over there. We usually use locked up, which is fine. We just come in here whenever she's gone and use this room. Can't honestly say that I don't prefer this room.
I am indifferent.
I like the fact that it's not hot as fuck in here. I don't like the fact that you can hear the AC kick on every now and then. Did you see something?
No, I thought I heard something.
Hey, maybe
but I
those
wasn't
guys.
sure if it was them or not.
Yeah, I can't tell. We'll ask them when they come back what's happening out there. I'll keep going here until they do come back. Tyler was talking about if I'd looked into any like PubMed type articles about the association between psychological conditions like depression, anxiety, PTSD, and the paranormal, and I have. It's very difficult with those to tell where one starts and the next begins, or which one started first. I mean, it could very well be true. Like a lot of people say, a lot of quote-unquote paranormal experts say that people with those conditions are more frequently targeted. That would make sense if you buy into the theology that's been put out there for years that these kind of entities like to prey on, and I use this word loosely, but they'd like to prey on people who are in weakened conditions. And yes, I understand saying that 7 out of 10 people, at least in this country, would be considered in weakened conditions, including probably people sitting around this table. I don't even fucking know. That's fine. We're not against people taking, the medicine they need or being diagnosed with the condition that they do or don't have. We're just saying it becomes very tricky whenever you talk about, psychological conditions and side effects of medicines to treat those psychological conditions as they are associated with paranormal activity. It becomes very difficult. Did you see anything?
Yes.
Oh, what did you see?
Shadow figure.
Yeah, we saw a shadow.
Where was it?
Fuck, I should have went with you.
Podcast room door here.
That's where the sound was.
Yeah,
It was right out there.
Right out there. We just saw and Tyler said, "Hey, look at this. There's a shadow." And so I said, "Well, it could have been me," and which is kind of role reversal in this situation. But I did, and Tyler's like, "No." So I go back and I look, and then I see it. I see
Moving
I
slow
see it
down the
moving
hall.
slowly down the hall. Something walking down the hall here at the castle.
That hallway's dark as shit, except for the under part of this door right here,
Yeah.
where the lights come in through.
Well, I can tell you this much with 100%, and I can't say if it wasn't a car. Well, it wouldn't be a car because that window's blocked. Or maybe a bird outside, but I saw the shadow move under that. I looked over there and watched it for a minute.
I saw it too.
I looked over there and watched it for like 8 seconds because in my mind I thought that's just the dog, and I was afraid he was going to start pawing on the door. But he's not here. It doesn't surprise me at all. You saw something out there, out in the hallway, because we heard something right outside that door, which leads right to that hallway. Since I am on the time crunch,
Yes.
I'm going to keep going through the list. Changes in your personality or interests.
I think the issue is that so many of these things overlap.
Well, there's a ton of gray, between the two. It's just very difficult. Sometimes I'm sure it's both. Like we said, the experts say people who have these conditions are more likely to, be the victims of this kind of activity.
Could be maybe some people who have some of those conditions that may include symptoms of paranoia might look out for that stuff more.
Yeah.
And maybe it's not ghosts, and maybe you do need a doctor.
It could be that. Look, we've had that before. A guy who lived right near the castle here, I could tell in talking to him just the way he was talking and what he was saying and the claims that he had that something was going on. I'm not going to say this guy was a lunatic. But the things he was seeing comic book characters.
Right.
Comic book characters crawling into his window at night. That's not in our orbit.
Well, a doctor's a great place to start because they can even search for things that, different chemicals that you might be short in or hormonal.
Oh, yeah, there's tons of shit.
And that's any number of things. I would start with a doctor.
In that particular case, that's kind of what I said. It's like you might want to check, because he did say that, I don't even remember what he said. Something about his medication, but I did say you may want to check with an MD first and then see if that clears it up.
And then we never heard from him.
Never heard from him again. No. And he may have just said, fuck them. They think I'm crazy. That's not what it was. It's just the claims you were saying they just didn't jive. The story I was being told didn't sound like something that was actually taking place.
Most of the real ghost stuff that you kind of come into contact with are things like what Tyler and I have been dealing with here today at the castle, where you walk out and you see shadows moving down halls. You'll hear noises that aren't there. Things will get scooted around. The ones that really get over the top, I'm not going to say that it doesn't ever happen, because it did happen to us once in Willard. It does happen, but most of those that are too movie-like are not.
Yeah. And this one was even beyond that. It was like, it was almost like, I can't even describe it. I mean, this girl in Branson who texted us, her claims sound real. Even though they sound outlandish, something you can't see, putting its hand around your neck. I do believe she's experiencing that. Okay, let me keep going down the list here, because I got to leave in 3 fucking minutes. You guys can keep going if you want.
Keep going.
Feeling drained after being in certain places. If you feel weak, nauseous, or mentally foggy, a spirit could have attached to you there. I don't know about that.
I don't know about that.
That one itself is a little foggy. Sensations of being touched when no one is visibly there. Yeah. Chills, light pressure on your skin. Unseen hand grabs you. Unexplained addictions or cravings. Alcohol, drugs, unhealthy food, and destructive relationships. Again, gets a little tricky on that.
So the ghost wants to make you fat?
Well, this is not see, this kind of plays into that whole thing where they say, the ghosts are attracted to cluttered areas.
Okay.
It's kind of the same idea, I think.
It's also like, I don't buy into the
chaos,
the spirit or ghost making you do that. That just seems like a general maybe coping mechanism.
Well, also cluttered areas are a hallmark of people with anxiety or depression.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. These things, it's hard to tell where one begins and another ends. I mean, it's impossible to diagnose. Constant bad luck or strange coincidences, I would scratch that off the list.
Yeah, I don't like that.
I'd scratch that off the list. We all have superstition. That. We all overblow coincidences. We all do it. It's like, God, every time I look at the clock, it's 2:32. Really? Every time? I don't think so. I think you're remembering the times.
You get in a fender bender at the Walmart parking lot, like that's not a fucking ghost.
Yeah, no.
You got hit.
I'd scratch that one off, because too many people use that.
The spirit took the wheel.
Yeah. Negative people flocking to you. If you find yourself surrounded by toxic, draining people who weren't in your life before, again, I would probably not include that.
No. But that may be the only people that want to be around you.
I think, I was going to say, I think if you're the kind of person who suddenly finds yourself, I heard that. If you find yourself being attracted to alcohol, drugs, unhealthy food, and destructive relationships, probably the people around you aren't top-notch citizens. Usually, not always. So I think some of these things are more personality or personality traits than evidence of paranormal. Animals acting strange around you. Do they growl, hiss, avoid, or stare at you fearfully?
I've heard that.
Now, I don't know about animals acting strangely or like toward you, but maybe your own animals acting differently. Yeah.
I would say that. If your animals that are used to you, I mean, hell, if I come upon a possum at night and that motherfucker hisses at me, that doesn't mean I have a ghost.
Yeah, see, I'm not sure about that. I can't say one way or the other because I just don't know.
I don't know. I mean, it's impossible. You can't predict the behavior of an animal. Feeling an overwhelming darkness in your home, we felt that before. Yeah. I can't say that's going to be there 100% of the time, but that's a feeling that we've felt in homes before. Yeah. You walk into the house and it feels perfectly normal, and then as the night progresses, it starts feeling fucking weird. And I'm not just talking about you're uneasy. It feels weird.
Heavy. It feels heavy.
Very heavy, very damp feel. We had that in Willard.
Very moist.
Trouble meditating or connecting spiritually. I don't know what that means. If you sense resistance when trying to pray, journal, or do spiritual work, that's why I don't know what that means, because I don't know how to do any of that stuff.
I'm not spiritual, so I can't speak to that.
So I don't know. On that one, maybe, I don't know. Let's see. And then feeling a pull to negative or dark things, such as morbid thoughts.
That's normal.
I
That's
think
a human
normal.
trait.
Yeah, I think so.
It's also been on this list already.
There are people
Kinda.
that,
A lot of these things just compound on top of each other.
there are people that get on the internet specifically to watch videos of people being like hurt.
Decapitated.
That's why Live Leak
mutilated.
exists.
I think the next thing to do is have
Rotten.
Chris contact her, and we'll go from there.
Well, I've been in and I just texted her while we were doing this and said that we're talking about your case now and that we want to be there, preferably with you there as well. So we'll work on.
Rare that we ask for that.
Yeah, it's
very
never,
rare.
But in that situation, well, we did with Ashley once.
Oh, that's true. So we'll work on that. Work on that investigation, getting it done. We've got others too. There's others. This is the most we've ever done, like rapid fire.
Right.
So
We'll get there.
We'll keep going through them, and we'll see you next week.
More Dark Matter next week from Pythian Castle in Springfield, Missouri with Midwest Ghost Hunters.